Good morning, everybody. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love. Your daily little of inspiration, the juice. It is January the 30th, January the 30th, 2023. And today the topic is Amazing Grace. Happy Monday, y'all. Happy Monday. I hope that you all had a great weekend. Mine was just fine. For the most part, I chilled on Saturday, but I had a few meaningful conversations, or at least one that I can really think about at the moment, which I'm going to touch on momentarily. But yeah, outside of that, I kind of tried to keep Saturday low key, to be honest, just because I knew that Sunday had a lot to entail. So for those of you all that follow me on social media, you already know. But for those that don't, um, long story short, your girl was out there. No, not hustling in the streets. Yesterday, basically, I was presenting my small groups to the Mountain West Church family. So one shout out to Mountain West for allowing yours truly to not only host one group, but two, right? For the first time, right? So that's already, just favor, right? Favor. Shout out to Brother Danny as well. He's been an awesome um, contact, point of reference, resource, and whatnot. Getting me ready or whatever for this amazing opportunity, right? Amazing opportunity. It was very interesting because I had my own table, so there was, basically trying to tell y'all real quick what happened. Okay, long story short. So basically, they called it the small group takeover. And so when you entered the church, like all over the lobby and on the side, and I think even down in the lower part of the lobby areas, they had like all these tables with people that are hosting small groups. And so yours truly was one of the people, except I had a whole table to myself. They had like tables that would be split, like one person, one group over here, one group over there. But like I said, I'm hosting two groups, so both of my groups at my table. I talked to quite a few people yesterday, y'all. I talked to quite a few people. Um, I would say people seem to be very interested in the children's group, so that's good. I'm glad that that's piquing people's interest, even the kids. I had some little flask sitting there with little colored water and whatnot, and of course they was asking me questions about it and stuff. I brought my books as a point of reference as well. So yeah, so that was really cool to meet. And I was at all three services. That's the other thing to note. Like basically, yeah, you had to be there for all three, or you didn't have to be, but it would behoove us to be because obviously, we want people to know about our group. So, on one hand, I wonder like if I missed something by not being in the service yesterday. Like maybe a small part of me felt like I might have missed something because I didn't get a sermon yesterday, nor did I get like the worship that we usually get, or that I usually get when I actually participate in the service, right? But at the same time, I guess I felt an importance for me to be at the table. And yeah, I mean, again, met a lot of people, met other people that was hosting groups as well. They came over and chatted with me, possibly wanted to connect, things like that. I noticed, this is just random, but I don't know if this is going to encourage and inspire you in any way. But anyway, one thing that I noticed yesterday as I was talking to people and presenting my groups to them and things like that, that I noticed that not a lot of people that didn't look like me come to me. So that was one interesting thing. Like some that went to the groups or that were hosting their own groups, they did, right? I had a Indian gentleman that was like, "Oh, we need to connect." And then there was a Caucasian couple that was like, well, actually a couple of Caucasian couples that kind of we were talking, but they also are hosting groups. So yeah, but when it came to people that actually were actively looking to be in my group, I noticed that for the juice, it seemed to be a lot of African American women. And then um, for the kids group, I feel like it was a lot of African American families, which is cool. I don't have anybody that wants to be in it, great. But it is a diverse a diverse congregation. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe they were busy looking at everybody else's group. I don't know. But that's just something I noticed yesterday. Also, I noticed a couple of conversations that I had with men. I noticed I wasn't getting many men coming to the table to be like, hey, other than with their kids, like they came with like the people in regards to kids, but they didn't come about the juice. And so that's something I noticed as well. I'm like, juice is for everybody. Like, I mean, the one guy that I did talk to, I was telling him about the whole process about like, yeah, daily Bible study, right? And he was like, every day. And I'm like, yeah, I think that's the reason I'm doing this as well. Cause it's like to show us all that, hey man, we can do this. Like, don't get discouraged. Like, if this group could cheer each other on and stuff like that, by all means. So I'm excited for those that did come to the table. I'm excited because I think for the juice, I'm gonna tell y'all get a little behind the scenes. This is what I'm thinking about doing. For the first session, I want to meet up for brunch. That's what I'm thinking. Like, have whoever wants to come to the juice and be a part of the juice group. Let's meet up for brunch. I want to give them the journal. And just do a meet and greet first. And then we'll start like, the actual, how's your process going? Zoom meetings. That's what I'm thinking. Y'all can let me know what y'all think about that. Y'all want to meet me for brunch? But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. I came across this really nice place actually last week when I was doing the Uber Eats thing. And it's right over there in Stone Mountain. So I think that'll be a nice place to go. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to say the least. So that's the main thing that happened yesterday. Like I said, I was at all 3 services. Your girl was pooped afterwards. All of my energy was there in that lobby. But at the same time, I think it was good to connect with people and to, fellowship for real. Like, I think we say that, right? And we all know that we need to do it. But it's like actually taking the time to do it is just on another level. So I hope that encourages you and inspires you, y'all. We got a fellowship. Like, we got to come together in fellowship with one another. So I'm excited in both groups. I'm excited to do it with the kids, and I'm excited for the juice and this fellowship, I guess, with African-American women. Daily Bible study. Hopefully I can cheer them on. So speaking of daily Bible study, so your girl woke up. What time did I wake up this morning? Like, what time did we? I feel like, okay. So I did wake up like 11:13 last night. And then I made a note of it, and then I went back to sleep. And then I woke up at the sound of my alarm. And the interesting thing this morning is like there's a lot of things that was on my mind. I think this stuff about the groups was on my mind. Also a conversation that we had with Grandma Pauline yesterday. That's another thing as well. We, try to spend some time with her. And when now she's talking like, I mean, she's where did this thing come from? I feel like it's biblical, but anybody else have ever heard this whole thing about like, oh, you only have 70 years, and then any years beyond 70 is like you on somebody else's time. Y'all ever heard that? Or is that just a Southern phrase? I feel like it's in the Bible somewhere. I think they're getting it from something in the Bible, but I didn't look that up this morning, but that was on my mind as well, basically. Because she's talking like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be here for Christmas vibes. I'm like, Grandma Pauline, like, oh my gosh, stop talking. You don't want people to talk like that, you know what I mean? But anyway, so anywho, so that was one thing, and then I was trying to figure out what the Lord wanted me to talk about this morning. That was another thing as well. Like a few different topics, different things came into my heart and mind. I looked up the Bible verses that's around 11:13. Like while I was listening to the prayer meditation this morning, I know this is gonna be crazy, but I saw like baby's breath flower in my head. So I looked up baby breath as well, which is interesting. It led me to some verses and whatnot. So I was wondering if that was going to be the topic. Some other stuff came into my heart and mind as well. But ultimately, I need to give a shout out to this lady named Ella Fair. I know she's somebody that we're Facebook friends. I don't think we've ever met in person. I don't even know how we became Facebook friends. I just know she's a beautiful young lady, and I like things that she posts, right? And so today she posted a quote, I guess, from Allison Ayers. I hope I'm saying it right. AARS is the last name, and this is what gave me the inspiration for the chat now, right? So this is what the quote said. It said, "When you finally learn that a person's behavior has more to do with their own internal struggle than you learn grace." So basically, y'all, it was after 6 that I saw this quote on social media. And once I saw it, and soon as I saw it, the Lord had put amazing grace in my heart and mind. And as soon as I started looking up the verses, I was like, that's it. And it's crazy because, again, like I said, my mind was all over the place with all the things I just told y'all about, right? And I was like, well, Lord, what you want to talk about? And stuff like that. And then even that little bit of, you know what, I'm going to tell y'all this, a little bit of probably the enemy, right? Trying to put in my mind, like, now how you going to host a small group, talk about a daily Bible study? You ain't even got no topic today. You know what I'm saying? Like, that did cross my mind, like a little, yeah, was in the back of my mind, and whatnot. So to God be the glory for, you know what I mean? Look, pushing through tenacity, and for giving your girl some inspiration this morning, because I didn't know what we was going to talk about, but Amazing Grace definitely resonated. I think for a few reasons as well. Probably some conversations that I've had over the weekend that is inspiring this as well. So yeah, the first thing I thought about when I read this quote this morning was Amazing Grace, because I feel like, you remember the other days I've been talking about, like, this concept of the way God loves and the way God treats us, and how the Bible tells us to treat others is just so foreign to us, right? And same thing with this idea of grace. Like, again, I feel like I say this all the time, so I'm sorry to people that listen to me all the time, but maybe it needs to be reiterated, because it's like, we appreciate these things for us. Like, when it's grace for us, grace for what I did, grace for my sins, all of that, we love it. We're like, yes, thank you, Lord. Thank you for the grace, right? But then we don't have that for other people. For whatever reason, it's like, oh, if somebody do something to you, you want to either do something back, or, like, I ain't gonna lie. Okay, you know what? Ooh, Lord. Ooh, telling myself. Okay. Let me tell y'all something that crossed my mind yesterday. So I told y'all that we spent a little time with Grandma Pauline, right? And oh Lord, okay. So I told y'all what was it, last week before last? It was my mom's birthday, and we spent time. Well, me and my son spent time with my mom on that Friday, and so, like I said, that weekend I just was super tired, right? So when the event that happened on that Sunday, I didn't go, right? Now, granted, the thing is, I know when I talked to my family, my mom was like, oh, I wish you had to just pick up, because basically, because of the situation with the church situation, pray for my husband, y'all. But anyway, because of that, me and NJ had went to church, and then by the time we had got done, and I did the parents meeting and all that stuff, I came on back home because I was tired. My mom was like, oh, maybe, I wish you had to just, pick them up, and then y'all came on down to the dinner. Now, so when this thing came around with my in-laws and dinner yesterday, it did cross my mind to be like, not say tit for tat about it, but it did cross my mind, like, man, husband, like, because first of all, I'm still tired, right? Because remember yesterday, I told you I was at all 3 services at the church. So, I mean, I got up early, right? Earlier than usual to go and be there and all that. And so I'm like, and even NJ was tired. Like, as soon as he got in the car at the church, he went to sleep. So my thing is, like, I was tired again, right? And it did cross my mind to be like tit for tat a little bit. Like, you ain't go to my family house. You know what I mean? Look, I'm being honest, right? Being honest. It did cross my mind. You see how the enemy tried to get in? But anyway, so I'm sharing this to say, like, it's a human thing, right? And I'm guilty too, right? It crossed your mind to be tit for tat about situations, or be tit for tat about, like, you did this, so, I'm going to do it back, or I got to get some type of justice back, right? But it's a totally foreign thing to be like, oh, grace, mercy, love anyway, all that, right? And it's interesting because it made me think, as I was reflecting on these and reading these verses this morning, that I'm getting ready to share with you, I promise. I was reminded of the conversation I had with Brother Brent. I told y'all that I was going to talk to Mr. Brent of Marriage Reunited. And he always, I feel like every time we talk, he just bestowing wisdom on you, girl. So he gave me this, like, I can't remember what led us to this conversation or led him to give me this example, but I think it's an awesome example, and I'm going to try my best to give it to you now. So basically, this is what he said. I guess in some ways, like, the grace, right, is like, or maybe even the love of God, what it's really like. So again, we understand the concept of what Jesus did, right? And we're like, oh yeah, God gave his son. But this is what brother Brent told me, he was like, it's like this, Miracle. It's like, say he's like, say I killed your mother, right? This is his example he gave me. He's like, say I killed your mother, and and we're in court, and instead of and when the judge is about to sentence me, you stand in and say, I'll take your place. Better yet, you stand in and say, instead of allowing him to be killed for killing my mother, that I would say my son, y'all know my son NJ, that I will put my son in his place instead. And that's the magnitude of what God has done. Like just a brief, like I don't know, that blew my mind when he was saying. Obviously, he said it in a much more eloquent way. But what I'm saying is that like that's like when you really, really think about like that's what God has done for us, and put it into that perspective of like of our human understanding of like what it would look like for us to do that. Again, just like this quote is telling us, like we'll start to have a little bit more grace for people and love for people and all of that. At least you would think so, right? So let's see what the Bible has to say. Ephesians 2, 8-9, it says, for by grace you have been saved through faith. And this isn't your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. So again, y'all, I know that we think that we're good. Like that's another, you know what, Lord, you better bring it all together. So I came across another quote this morning in the midst of my, mind being all over the place. And it's like the number one question that people have for Christians is like, well, if your God is real, why do good people, basically, why do bad things happen to good people? Now again, if you get into your word and whatnot, you'll see that, I mean, because of sin, all these things happen anyway. It's just a part of life at this point because of what happened with the fall, right? But on top of that, you also get into the word and you see that none of us is good. Like we think we're good, but none of us is good. Like even, oh Lord, okay. So I'm reminded of this. There's this video of this pastor, and he's talking about apparently he had like a moment of dying and coming back vibes, and basically he talked about like what he saw in regards to hell, and he also talked about like the fact that he didn't think that he was going to go there because of all the good works that he had done and whatnot. This verse and many other verses tells us that it's not our works that gets us in, right? It's what Jesus did on the cross. What God already did is what gets us in, his grace, mercy, and all of that, right? Now the works thing, I mean, there's room for works. That's because, God moves through works. And the Lord just put that on my heart, man. Like he has, for some reason, chosen us to use us to show his love, grace, mercy, and all that stuff to one another. So God uses works, yes, but it's not what is ultimately going to quote unquote save us. That's not what's going to get us into heaven and any of those things. If you really truly read the Bible and see. So again, I tell y'all all the time, I struggle with the faith and works thing. I'll be like, Lord, I want to show you I got faith, so I want to continue to do the work and everything like that. And again, there is room for works and stuff like that, but don't think that your works is what's going to save you. Like at the end of the day, it's your belief in Christ, and it's what Christ already did that it saves. So let's keep going, y'all. John 1:16, it says, for from his fullness, we have all revealed grace upon grace. Yeah, it's his fullness, y'all. It's him. It's not us. So yeah, again, like I'll just say it again, y'all. If we can appreciate this for us, we can appreciate what God did for us, then extend that to someone else, right? Isaiah 33:5, it says, but he was pressed for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace, and with his wounds we are healed. So again, remember that scenario, y'all. Anytime, again, if somebody does something to you or whatever, or even if you need to kind of humble yourself, right? Think about that scenario that I gave you all earlier of like if you can't imagine you really giving up your child for somebody that has done wrong, then I don't know, that example just really blew my mind the other day to think about it in that way. Because I mean, I know we hear all the time, yes, God through Jesus did this, and then we got to understand that, okay, God is Jesus, right, and all that, but again, we definitely, I just think most parents, right, many probably don't even consider this idea of sacrificing their child for anything, right? And then on top of that, we definitely probably very rarely would consider sacrificing ourselves for anything as well, or for someone else, right? And so, uh, yeah, I mean, it's amazing, right? Amazing grace. This is how amazing it is. I know we sing it all the time, we say it all the time, and all that, but this is where the amazing part comes from, right? I have, let's see, I think I got like one more verse to share, but I mean, if you look at the Go Deeper section, right, and if you feel like you're in a place where either you need grace or you want to understand this a little bit more, or whatever the case is, check out those verses in the Go Deeper section. I think if you read them in a consecutive way, the way I wrote them down in the Go Deeper section, then I think it might speak to you. I think it might be something to encourage you and inspire you. But let's get to this last verse I want to share, and it's Romans 11:6. It says, but if it is by grace, it is no longer on the basis of works. Otherwise, grace would no longer be grace. So again, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about the grace. Like, yes, works is good, right? You do some work, right, to show your faith. All that's great. But don't think the stuff that you do is what's like going to ultimately save, as well as, again, if you can appreciate grace, then give it, right? I mean, that's the juice, y'all. That is the juice today. I mean, I do have the Bible verse up today to share, and that is Isaiah 41:10. It says, fear though not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration and juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye. There you go, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, anybody listening to the sound of my voice. I hope that you all are encouraged and inspired. Thank you so much again for listening, watching, subscribing, sharing, all those wonderful things. I believe that I got a new subscriber yesterday. So that's the other great thing about yesterday, is I was able to kind of just share about everything in the process of sharing about my groups. And so people were getting my flyers that have, the GSL information on there and stuff like that. And I did get a subscriber last night that came out of nowhere. So I'm like, ooh, was that one of my fellow church members? I don't know. But, I'm thankful, y'all. I'm thankful for everything. And I appreciate you all for taking out the time. I think at some point there was like 3 of y'all that was watching. I see one person hanging tough. So thank you so much for listening. And I hope that, this encourages you and inspires you. Yeah, y'all, let's give more grace, man. At the end of the day, we probably don't want to. It's probably one of those things where it's like I want to, get some get back, or I don't want to be treated away and all that type of stuff. But I'm like, just think about the way you treated God and how he treats you in spite of that. And then hopefully that'll help you, give a little bit more grace to others. So there you go, guys. Amazing grace. That was the topic today. Shout out again to Ella Fair for being obedient and sharing that quote whenever she shared it. I don't even know if she shared it this morning or when, but it came across my feed this morning. So to God be the glory for that. That's another thing as well. It's very interesting. I feel like I've been hearing this a lot lately, but I've been sharing, I tell y'all all the time, I share quotes and things like that throughout the day. And a lot of times when I'm sharing, people be on there like, I needed this, I needed that. Thank you, da-da-da. And so yeah, I guess I'm just paying it forward to Ella for, hey, thank you, because again, there was no topic that was solidified in my heart and mind this morning until I saw that quote. And I feel like it came together in a beautiful way, as the Lord tends to do with this whole journey of the juice. So anyway, I won't be long your time. Y'all have a wonderful Monday. And yes, I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye.